I spent 6 months bouncing between Bali and Malaysia, and what I discovered completely shattered everything I thought I knew about Southeast Asian travel. One of these destinations left me counting down the days until I could leave, while the other had me extending my visa 3 times. The winner might shock you, especially when you see what happened on day 17. Let me take you back to the moment this whole comparison started. I was sitting in a Kuala Lumpur coffee shop, scrolling through Instagram, and every third post was someone calling Bali paradise on earth. I just spent 2 weeks in Malaysia, and something didn't add up. The pricing, the experiences, the actual day-to-day living, it was all so different from what these influences were showing. So I decided to do something crazy. I bought a one-way ticket to Bali with a simple mission: live in both places exactly the same way and see which one actually delivers. The first shock came within 48 hours of landing in Bali. I checked into what was advertised as a luxury villa in Canggu. The photos looked incredible: infinity pool, rice field views, the whole dream setup. Reality? The Wi-Fi cut out every 30 minutes, the hot water worked maybe half the time, and that infinity pool was shared with 17 other villas. The price? $65 a night. Now keep that number in your head, because what I got for the same money in Malaysia 3 weeks earlier is going to blow your mind, but I'm not revealing that yet because what happened next in Bali taught me something even more valuable. I decided to embrace the Bali lifestyle everyone raves about. Morning yoga on the beach, healthy smoothie bowls, scooter rides through rice terraces, sunset at Tanah Lot. Day 3, I'm at this famous beach club that charges a $30 minimum spend just to sit down. I ordered a cocktail, $15. A small pizza, $22. I watched a family next to me get a bill for 4 people, $218 for lunch. At a beach in Indonesia. The dad's face went completely white when he saw the receipt. This is where things started getting weird for me, because I remembered having a full seafood feast in Penang with fresh caught fish, multiple dishes, drinks, and it came to about $12 total. But everyone keeps saying Bali is affordable paradise, so I pushed those thoughts aside and kept exploring. The beaches in Bali are stunning, no one can take that away. Uluwatu, Nusa Dua, Padang Padang, these are world-class coastlines. But here's what nobody tells you. On my 4th day, I went to 3 different beaches. The first one charged me a parking fee, an entrance fee, and a mandatory sarong rental. The second beach was so packed with tourists that I literally couldn't find a spot to put my towel down. The third beach, which was supposed to be hidden and local, had 7 other tourists who'd found it from the exact same blog post I read. I spent more time trying to enjoy the beaches than actually enjoying them. This pattern kept repeating itself everywhere I went in Bali. The famous rice terraces in Tegalalang. 25 people trying to get the same Instagram photo on that one swing. The temples. Beautiful, but surrounded by aggressive vendors who follow you around. That authentic Balinese experience everyone promises. I found it once, in a tiny village 40 kilometers from any tourist area, and it took me 3 hours on a scooter dodging traffic to get there. Now, the traffic situation in Bali deserves its own conversation. I rented a scooter, which is pretty much mandatory if you want to get around without spending a fortune on taxis. The main road between Canggu and Seminyak, a distance of about 6 kilometers, took me 55 minutes during normal afternoon hours. Not rush hour, just a regular Tuesday at 3 p.m. The exhaust fumes, the near-death experiences with tourists who've never ridden a scooter before, the random potholes that appear out of nowhere. I watched someone's phone fly out of their hand and get crushed by a truck right in front of me. The constant stress of transportation started wearing me down faster than I expected. But I kept telling myself this was all worth it for the Bali magic everyone talks about. Then something interesting happened in week 2. I met a guy from Australia who'd been living in Bali for 8 months. We got to talking, and I asked him the question, is this really paradise? He laughed and said something that stuck with me. He said Bali is paradise if you have money and you stay in the bubble. The moment you try to live here like a normal person or you step outside the tourist zones, you see a completely different island. He was paying $1,400 a month for a 2-bedroom house that had mold problems and unreliable electricity. He just spent $300 on a hospital visit for a minor infection. His visa runs were costing him hundreds more every few months. This was the first crack in the paradise narrative, but the real earthquake came when I went back to Malaysia. Landing in Kuala Lumpur felt like entering a different dimension. The airport immigration took 8 minutes total. The train from the airport to the city center cost $2 and had better Wi-Fi than most hotels in Bali. I checked into a serviced apartment in Bukit Bintang, right in the center of everything. 1 bedroom, full kitchen, gym, pool, workspace, fast Wi-Fi, consistent hot water, and daily cleaning service. The price? $58 a night. $7 less than my villa in Bali that had half the amenities and a fraction of the reliability. But that was just the beginning of the revelations. The food situation in Malaysia changed everything I thought about value and quality. My first meal back was at a regular food court, nothing fancy, just local people eating lunch. I got chicken rice, 3 pieces of perfectly roasted chicken, rice cooked in chicken fat, soup, and 3 types of sauce. Cost $2.30. It was legitimately delicious, not just good for the price, actually delicious. That same day I tried roti canai for breakfast, which is this incredible flatbread with curry sauce. 90 cents. For dinner, I went to Jalan Alor, which is this famous street food area, and had satay, grilled fish, vegetables, rice, and a fresh juice. Total bill $8, and I was uncomfortably full. In Bali, I couldn't get a decent meal for under $10 unless I went to the most local warungs, and even then the quality was hit or miss. The transportation revelation was even more dramatic. Kuala Lumpur has a legitimate metro system. Clean trains, air conditioning, English announcements, and covers most of the city. A day pass costs $3. I could go from my apartment to the Petronas Towers to Batu Caves to Central Market and back without ever worrying about traffic or breathing exhaust fumes. When I needed to go further, the Grab rides were consistently half the price of Bali taxis. A 20-minute ride across the city. $4. The same distance in Bali was costing me $12 to $15, and that's if the driver didn't try to negotiate a higher price halfway through the trip. But here's where Malaysia really started pulling ahead, and it's something nobody talks about. The diversity of experiences within easy reach is absolutely insane. From Kuala Lumpur, I took a 2-hour bus to Penang. The bus had Wi-Fi, charging ports, and reclining seats. It cost $9. In Penang, I found some of the best food I've eaten in my entire life. The char kway teow, the laksa, the nasi kandar, every meal was an adventure. I stayed in a boutique hotel in Georgetown, a UNESCO heritage area with incredible street art and colonial architecture, for $35 a night. The room was spotless, the staff spoke perfect English, and the neighborhood felt safe to walk around at any hour. From Penang, I took another short trip to the Cameron Highlands, this misty mountain region with tea plantations and strawberry farms. The landscape looked like something out of Ireland, completely different from the tropical chaos of the cities. Another bus ride, another $10, another mind-blowing experience. I started calculating how much these trips would cost from Bali. The flights alone would be triple, and I'd have to factor in airport time, check-in, security, all that hassle. In Malaysia, I was just hopping on comfortable buses and exploring different worlds every few days. The beach comparison is where things get really interesting. Everyone assumes Bali wins automatically because it's literally famous for beaches. I went to Langkawi, this island in northern Malaysia. The ferry from Penang cost $15. I arrived expecting maybe nice beaches but nothing compared to Bali's legend. What I found was absolutely pristine coastline, crystal clear water, barely any crowds, and prices that made sense. I had a fresh seafood dinner right on the beach, grilled fish, prawns, squid, rice, and vegetables. The cost? $11. The same meal in Seminyak would have easily been $50 at a beachfront restaurant. The beaches in Langkawi weren't just empty, they were clean. No plastic bottles washing up every few minutes, no vendors harassing you, just pure beach experience. Then I discovered the Perhentian Islands, and this is where I have to admit something. These might be the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen, and I've been to 43 countries. The water is so clear you can see tropical fish from the shore. The coral reefs are thriving and accessible. I went snorkeling and saw sea turtles, reef sharks, and countless fish species without paying for an expensive boat tour. The island has no cars, no ATMs, it's genuinely undeveloped in the best way possible. My beach bungalow cost $30 a night and was literally 20 steps from water that looks like a screensaver. The culture shock between the two destinations kept hitting me. In Bali, I constantly felt like I was navigating a tourist economy designed to extract maximum money. The dual pricing, where locals pay one amount and tourists pay 3 times more, was everywhere. The constant, "Where you from?" followed by a sales pitch. The feeling that every interaction was transactional. Now I'm not saying everyone in Bali is like this. I met incredible Balinese people who were genuinely kind, but the tourism machine has created this exhausting dynamic that you can't escape in the main areas. In Malaysia, particularly outside Kuala Lumpur, I felt like an actual traveler, not a walking ATM. People were curious about where I was from but in a genuine way. They'd invite me to try their food, give me directions without expecting tips, and treat me like a normal person. The Muslim hospitality culture meant that strangers would go out of their way to help me, and I never felt like there was an ulterior motive. This sounds dramatic, but it fundamentally changed how much energy I had each day. In Bali, I was mentally exhausted from constant negotiations and staying alert to scams. In Malaysia, I could just relax and explore. The infrastructure difference became impossible to ignore. Malaysia has reliable electricity, actual plumbing that works, internet speeds that can handle video calls, and buildings that aren't falling apart. These sound like basic things, but after experiencing constant issues in Bali, I realized how much these fundamentals matter for actual quality of life. I could work from Malaysia without stress. I could make plans without worrying if the power would cut out. I could drink the water in many places. These aren't exciting Instagram story moments, but they're the difference between a place you visit and a place you can actually live. The healthcare situation was another massive differentiator. In Malaysia, I had access to world-class hospitals where many doctors trained in the US or UK. The prices were reasonable, and everything was clean and modern. I didn't need to use them much, but knowing they were there gave me peace of mind. In Bali, I heard too many horror stories about medical situations gone wrong, expensive evacuations, and clinics that couldn't handle serious issues. This matters more than people think, especially for longer stays. After 3 months of going back and forth, testing everything from nightlife to hiking to co-working spaces to dating scenes, the conclusion became unavoidable. Malaysia wasn't just winning, it was completely dominating in almost every practical category. Better value, better food diversity, better infrastructure, better transportation, easier visa situation, more authentic experiences, and honestly, more interesting culture. Bali had better marketing, more Instagram fame, and that paradise reputation, but the day-to-day reality couldn't compete. The final test was the most revealing. I gave myself the same budget in both places for 1 week, $500 including accommodation, food, transportation, and activities. In Bali, I ran out of money by day 5, even staying in modest places and eating at local spots half the time. In Malaysia, I finished the week having done more activities, eaten better food, stayed in nicer places, and still had $70 left over. The value difference wasn't close, it was exponential. So here's my honest conclusion after 6 months of testing. If you want a 3-day Instagram vacation where you take photos at beach clubs and rice terraces, Bali delivers that fantasy perfectly. You'll get your content, you'll have your moment, and you'll go home with the story. But if you want to actually travel, to experience genuine culture, to eat incredible food without destroying your budget, to explore diverse landscapes, to feel like you're discovering something real, Malaysia wins so completely that it's not even a fair comparison. Bali is the influencer destination. Malaysia is the actual traveler's dream. And after everything I experienced, I know exactly which one I'm choosing for my next 3 months. The question is, which one matches what you're really looking for?